Thank you. Thank you very much. How very kind. Thank you. Well, hello. Welcome to the Saturday 6 o'clock show. What a day. We've been rehearsing all afternoon, didn't see a moment of the big match, and I don't even know who won. Who won? Man United! By what? 1-0! And who were they playing? Well, at least somebody knows. Thank you very much. Now, we should be getting pictures from our helicopter around now showing the biggest traffic jam in the world. As there you are, 100,000 people making their way home from Wembley. Extraordinary sight, isn't it? Danny Baker, by the way, is still there, and we'll be talking to him a bit later on. But, of course, there is more to life than football. There's more even than snooker. Most important of all, this is the final day of National Smile Week, the week when you're officially allowed to go around smiling at complete strangers without getting your face slapped. Arrested, perhaps. Slapped, no. In our audience here, we've got the person who launched National Smile Week, Miss Smile herself, Marilyn Cuttingham. Marilyn, so you've been going around all week smiling at total strangers?
I have, yes.
What happened?
Well, I've had a few people asking to see my teeth and smile, but most people have been laughing back at me when I smile at them.
Made any lasting friendships?
Not really, but I've had a few funny looks.
You're a naturally smiley person,
Yes, I'd say so, yes.
Well, it's a very charming idea, isn't it? But we do have some other people here who have refused to raise a smile, even for National Smile Week. One of them wrote to us, actually challenging us to make her laugh. Now, she is Pat Curtis from Romford in Essex. Where is she? In the front row. Now, what is wrong? Why don't you smile?
Well, what is there to smile about?
Have you never had a really good laugh?
Yeah, I have.
When was that?
Day I got my divorce.
Doesn't happen too often, does it, I suppose? Sitting next to Pat is the man who claims to hold the world record for not smiling, and here's comedian Chubby Oates. You don't even smile at your own jokes, do you?
No, not really.
Does the audience?
No. That's what makes me so miserable.
I understand. But this world record, Chubby, I mean, what did you do? How long did you not smile for?
155 minutes.
Good Lord. And what, in the
Under
end...
extreme provocation, I might add, sir.
Well, that's the plan for tonight, in fact. What made you crack in the end?
An old lady waved a black pudding at me.
And that did it, didn't it?
I'm afraid it did.
Right, well, we'll see what we can do. Tonight, we shall take up the challenge and try to have these two split their sides by the end of the show. We'll split something anyway. I think we've got some hard work ahead. We've got some special seats for you so the studio audience can keep an eye on you, and Miss Smile will let us know if there is a breakthrough. And now here come 2 smiles and 64 perfect teeth, bared in the name of the Saturday 6 o'clock show. They belong to Cheryl Baker and Gary Wilmot. Hello, Cheryl.
Oh.
Isn't that wonderful? Oh, I like that. Oh, dear. Tell me, have you had a good week? What have you been up to?
I've been to the seaside. I had a great time.
What were you doing?
Well, I went to Butlins at Bognor because they had a Glamorous Granny competition, but you'll see more about that later. Can I tell you about my mum?
Yes.
Well, my mum went into a Glamorous Granny competition, love her art. We've insisted that she went into it, and she really didn't want to. And she stood on the stage, she was shaking with nerves, and she stood on the stage like this, and the compere went to introduce her as Dole from Bethnal Green, and as he pulled his microphone up, it was in between her legs, and her skirt went, woo! And that was the end of her Glamorous Granny days.
Oh, she didn't win?
No, she didn't.
Oh, what an anticlimax.
She won the Knobbly Knees contest.
Oh, dear. Now, Gary, what news from your end?
Oh, well, as far as grannies are concerned, well...
do you reckon... let me ask this before I ask you what you've done. Do you reckon you could get old misery faces over there to laugh? I mean, you're a comedian.
Oh, well, well, I'll tell you what, look, most people always think of me as doing Norman Wisdom impression, right? But I don't only do Norman Wisdom, you see, I do animal impressions as well. Here's a duck, right, doing an impression of Norman Wisdom, right? Quack, 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 quack. And now a cow doing an impression of Norman Wisdom. Moo, 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 moo,
It's not working.
Not a twitch. Anyway, for light relief, the show is full of quizzes tonight, and here is our starter for 10. What is female, silver-haired, bespectacled, and has definitely seen better days? Now, don't be cruel, she might hear you. I have just described, as you might have gathered, most people's idea of a perfect granny. But this week, down at Butlins holiday camp in Bognor Regis, as Cheryl said, a score of modern girls were proving just how wrong that image is. They were all taking part in that competition worth £6,000. Prizes galore to find the glamorous grandmother of the year. Cheryl went along to help them across the road.
Believe it or not, these ladies are all grannies, and every one of them eager to get their hands on that title. Not that they behave much like grannies. In fact, they're fast turning this place into a regular Gran's Hatch.
Well, it's 24 hours now to the big final, and the glamorous grands are really letting their hair down.
Now, they may look a relaxed, easy-going bunch, but they've all got a few tricks up their sleeves to try and swing things their way.
Have you got any little secret tips, like ways that you catch the judge's eye or something?
Use your eyes.
So that's what you'll do?
I'll try.
And the oldest finalist, 68-year-old Frances Maloney, has another tip.
Now, I've got a message for all the ladies here. And I think my message to them is, get rid of your husbands. I did mine, and I've never looked behind me since. And that is true. It was better than a tonic.
But behind most of the glamorous grannies, there is a glamorous grandad, and they stop at nothing to make sure it's their wife who gets the crown.
The semi-final, she bought this blue dress, and she couldn't get any shoes, you know, the same colour. And I finished up spraying a pair of shoes, you know, the same colour.
Do you help her get dressed and makeup?
Yes, I do the zips up and make sure the makeup's right.
And I usually do the last bit of rolling at the back, the last bit of hair with the curlers that she can't see with the tongs, you know.
During rehearsals, there are some husbands who are only here for the beer, while others are always on duty. The moment of truth was getting nearer, and the ladies went through their final paces.
My name is Maureen. I'm 42 years old. I have nothing about.
Where are you from?
I'm from Bristol.
With just 4 hours to go, it was a last chance to have a bit of fun. Julie Kesby insisted she was into nude skydiving.
Is this stripping off on the way down, or are you naked when you originally jump out?
Well, it's a combination. Sometimes you actually strip on the way down, and other times you actually dive naked.
And veteran Frances let slip the real secret of 24 years on the Glam Grand circuit.
So what I do, I get a nice little sip of whiskey. And I find that helps me a lot. And if I still don't feel good, I'll have two. But I don't go any more than that. I may fall off the catwalk.
Now time is running out. The ladies make their last-minute preparations. For the husbands, it's rollers at the ready. Frances, true to form, has the first of her final tipples.
There's 5 minutes to go. We're backstage now, and they're just ready to go on stage. I don't know how they feel, but I feel so nervous. This is worse than Eurovision.
This was it. Out front, there was Mary giving the judges the eye. And when Frances took to the stage, she was treading very carefully. But on the night, it was our nude skydiver who landed the title of Britain's most glamorous gran.
Many congratulations, Julie. She has a cheque for £2,500, a beautiful trophy. She also...
But a losing gran takes it on the chin. She'll be back to fight another year.
What are you looking forward to now?
Doing the next heat. I'm already planning. I'm going to get drunk tonight, drown my sorrows.
Well, enjoy yourself.
I will, I will.
Well, there were some beautiful women there, I must say. What was the age range?
I think it was about 36 to Frances, who was 68.
Yeah.
But there were some little boys watching while you know, they were on the motorcycles, the little motorcycles, and there were some little boys watching, and one went, they're not grannies. I said, what's a granny? And he said, a granny's old and grey and walks with a stick and plays bingo all the time.
They've seen them. What makes me like that? I mean, can you imagine a woman of 87 called Tracy or Kelly or even Cheryl? I mean, it doesn't sound likely. It will happen one day.
No, it doesn't sound likely at all.
No, not at all. No. Do you find older women attractive, Gary?
Oh, very much so. I like Cheryl very much.
Yeah.
I remember when I remember when I told my mother-in-law that she was going to be a grandmother. She got really excited, and I said, "You really are excited, aren't you?" She said, "Yes, I've never been to bed with a granddad before."
I'm very pleased I asked that. Very productive question, that. Now, Danny Baker, man of football, had the dream of a lifetime come true this afternoon. Amazingly, he'd never been to a cup final before. This afternoon, he made it. He's still in Wembley Stadium with some of the people who had one of the busiest days of their lives. Danny, can you hear me? Danny?
Well, yes, Mike, just as all the rest of the world goes off the air, the 6 o'clock show comes live from Wembley. That's us all over, isn't it? I'll tell you what, I've got some souvenirs here. Here's some of the actual grass from whence Norman kicked that shot. That was down at the other end. He sold that to me. Here's one of the linesman's dog ends. Here's one of Norman Whiteside's teeth. And some of the gum from Gary Bailey himself. Still delish. And these hats are everywhere. I can do you these cheap. Dozens of them all over the place. But while we jest, there are some people who are working very hard. And I'm with Mike Sykes, the stadium manager, one of the men who is very responsible for the day, aren't you, Mike?
I am indeed.
What kind of day's it been?
Very good indeed. Been a great game, great crowd, everybody's enjoyed it.
How long have you got before you can shoot off home?
With a bit of luck, about an hour, then I can go and put my feet up.
That's more than I can, I tell you. Yeah, one thing I've always wondered, when do the actual ribbons go on the cup?
We put them on during the second half, but we put both team ribbons on because you never know which way it's going to go. And then just at the last minute, when we know the winner, we take the losers off and just leave the winners on.
And so the losers' ones are out there somewhere, are they?
Oh, no. We keep them.
You keep them?
Yep.
You
there they are.
These are the ones that never were. Can I have them or...?
Oh, no, we need them. You never know, Everton might be back next year.
Cool, they go back. Don't you know haberdashers, mate? Anyway, cheers, Mike. And there is the man who's the head of the cleaning team here. What's the worst job you've ever had? This is Alberto. What are you looking for to Alberto?
But what I'm looking for now is to have the stadium ready for Monday night ground meetings, and to do that we have to have 60 men this evening from 6 until 2 o'clock in the morning.
How much rubbish is out there, though?
Out there'll be probably 2,500, 3,000 plastic bags.
3,000 plastic bags, turn it in. And you're in charge of the bath. How long does that take to fill?
To fill 3.5 hours. We have to fill it in 3.5 hours before the game starts, yes, before the actual match starts.
Well, coming back here later on, but for the moment, over there about an hour ago, it was Brian Robson who went up to collect the FA Cup. But unbelievably, these days, any old hobbledehoy can go up there and get the cup, as you'll be seeing later on when I do it. Check back with us later and see about that.
He's getting all like that, isn't he? He's very... Well, this is live television, you see, but the way those pictures broke up, like his voice, it wasn't emotional. Those pictures are coming via helicopter, but we'll get back there all being well. Danny says we'll be there later, but first let me tell you about our own 6 o'clock show cup. Next week, we're going to give one of you lucky people the chance to put this on your mantelpiece and take a trip with the difference on the world's most luxurious train, the Orient Express. And we'll give a prize to the charity of your choice, a cash prize of £500. So it's really big time. And to win it, you're going to have to solve a series of clues, which we'll be giving you in part 2. So get your pencils and paper ready to take down the details. But before then, let's see how we've been getting on with our stony faces. Marilyn, has there been the faintest titter yet?
I'm afraid not a glimmer.
They are still alive, are they?
Just about.
Right, it's time to call in the heavy mob then. We've got a couple of people who are going to help us win, and if they don't, nothing will. From Whitehaven in Cumbria, the world champion Gurners, Gordon Blacklock and his daughter, Dawn.
For those of us who don't know what gurning is, I mean, what is it? Explain.
It's the art of pulling funny faces.
Oh, give us an example. What's... Oh, does that hurt?
No.
Oh, it killed me. And Dawn, you were the world champion when you were 9.
Yeah.
And you're 14 now. Give us a couple of faces that helped you win. It's lovely. All right, can anyone be a gurner, Gordon?
Oh, yes.
Could I have a go? Yeah. All right, we'll get a quick go. It'd be a bit difficult for me, you see, because you understand. Look. Are they laughing yet? Look. Do you reckon you can make these two laugh?
Well,
do you want to give it a go? Yeah, give it a try. Come on, I'll step down here. Although you've got your work cut. As they say, one good girl deserves another, so... Maybe I wish you luck. Go on, off you go.
Yes.
Smile there.
There's a lot of blood over there, you know. Anyway, perhaps we'll crack all this in part 2 with our birthday guest, plus the 6 o'clock show Challenge Cup. So have your pens and paper handy. We'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
Gas supplies getting on for 60% of all the heat used in British homes. That's 3 times more than any other fuel. Why do people prefer gas?
With gas central heating, you can control the temperature up or down anytime. And gas is the same price whenever you want it, day or night.
Cookability, that's the beauty of gas. It's so controllable. Cheaper for cooking too.
You don't just get one tank of cheap hot water at night with gas. Every tankful costs the same.
No wonder people prefer gas.
A gyrobank account is free to run. As long as you're in credit, no matter how small the amount, you won't pay a penny. And at the end of the day, that can make quite a difference. National Gyrobank. We're different because we've got more to offer.
A sizzle of English holidaymakers enjoying their Sunday roast. But if you're thinking of joining them this summer, do take care. Will your card help you turn brown?
No.
Or an uncomfortable red? If you want a breeze round your knees, will your plastic provide it?
No.
The fact is, Barclaycard is welcomed at 3 times as many places as certain charge cards I could mention. Well, if you've taken that much trouble to tan your hide, why bother to hide your tan?
No matter where you bank, apply for a Barclaycard now.
Vita helps you win the inch war. When you've really earned your beer, make it a Budweiser. Fully fermented, it's matured over beechwood for a taste that's smooth and clean.
That's not Heinz.
That's not on. No other salad cream tastes quite like Heinz. And no other salad cream is quite as rich and creamy smooth as Heinz. Heinz salad cream. It like taste no theirs.
Katie lives a near-normal 2-year-old's life, despite cystic fibrosis. Her family belong to the Cystic Fibrosis Trust. It keeps them in touch with the latest developments in how to control the illness and with other parents for much-needed emotional support. If you or your child has cystic fibrosis, you need the trust. Write to CFT, Box 33, London SE1 9LT.
Welcome back. It's that point in the show when we watch as our special guest gets 1 year older before our very eyes, because it's time for the birthday of the week. Last Saturday, we showed you these youthful pictures of our guest and told you he was a cheeky chappie who's one of radio's funniest newsreaders. Well, those clues produced a few funny answers in themselves, but most people weren't fooled. Here is music hall nut and the voice behind the news headlines, Roy Hudd.
Hey, folks.
Well,
looks even better on a deck chair, look at that.
Well, congratulations. I must tell you, a couple of the wrong guesses were Andrew Gardner, somebody said Tony Blackburn, and someone else said Roy Hubb.
Roy Hubb?
Yeah, can't cap that, can we?
Roy Hubb and Emu, we're well known for it.
Yes. What was your... apart from now, of course...
Andrew Gardner's got more hair than I am, what do you mean?
Hardly. What is your most memorable birthday? Today accepted, of course.
Well, of course, yeah. Well, I think actually my most memorable birthday was actually my birthday this year, which of course was Thursday. It was a very memorable one because we recorded the news headlines that day, and that's always a marvellous day anyway to do. But, you know, we go through writers like there's no tomorrows on that programme because we have lots and lots of gags. And Billy Dainty's son came along, you know, he was about 20, and he'd written half a dozen jokes, and he turned up about 10 to 1 just before we went on the air and gave me these half dozen jokes. And one of them was really good. I put it in the show and it actually got out on the air. And to see old Lawrence's face after the show was a good birthday. It was quite a nice gag, actually. It was, I see Maggie Thatcher's just commissioned a new robot to go in, you know, to destroy the very biggest of unexploded bombs. It's Francis Pym on a pole.
Oh, yes, very nice. Yeah. When did your love affair with the music hall start, then?
Well, I think really, funny enough, talking to Glamorous Grannies, through my gran, really, who was a very glamorous granny, and she used to, she brought me up, you know, on an old age pension, the pair of us, and we used to go along to the Croydon Empire nearly every Tuesday night, and saw a lot of the old turns there, you know, and that really sort of got me keen and interested.
Now you've got your very own old age pension, it's sweet. Now, we have prepared a little film...
I'll smack him in the mouth in a minute, I
swear. We have prepared a little film.
And he's got old age pensioners' teeth, isn't it?
Anyway, we've got no time for applause. We have prepared a little film about the early years of Roy Hudd. Most of it was removed by the censor, of course, but Cheryl reports, and Roy can come back afterwards if he wants to.
Roy was born in Croydon, and it wasn't long before he smelt the grease paint and heard the roar of the crowd. Showbiz called, as Cousin Mavis remembers.
When he was about 3, he would do his party piece, and then he'd come on and do When the Red, Red Robin Comes bobbing along.
When the red, red robin comes bobbing along.
And little Roy always made sure his audience knew exactly who he was.
Always, if anybody asked his name, he would always say, Roy Hudd, R-O-Y-H-U-D-D.
As soon as he was old enough, Roy joined his local youth club, and in no time at all he was a leading light in the concert party. In those days, just his looks made people fall about laughing, according to his friend at the time, Eddie Cuttingham.
I remember he had a very thin neck with an Adam's apple, teeth like that, except more protruding, and I used to call him the strangled chicken.
The two of them formed a song and dance double act, and Eddie remembers a very embarrassing moment during one performance.
And I walked on without him, and he came rushing in, and he went, like that, and his flies were completely undone. And I looked down and I went, your flies are undone. And Roy went, he stopped singing, went straight up the front, embarrassed from that moment on.
So Roy went off to Butlins at Clacton-on-Sea. Not for a holiday, though. He got a job as a redcoat. His buddy Stan Edwards remembers their first meeting.
He was hanging from the coat hooks in the entrance to the main dining hall at the camp.
Why?
Well, he was a bit thin in those days. People used to take advantage of him, and the camp comic used to hang his jacket up for him. The trouble was, he was still in it.
Roy was a big hit at the camp, especially when he did his funny walk. But he did have 1 or 2 problems.
He was having trouble with his balls at the time. Oh, I realised that, but it's serious. No, he was. I mean, they kept falling out and rolling all over the stage.
Roy, you better You better explain that last bit.
I better explain that last bit. No, yeah. Actually, it was Stan Edwards, an old pal of mine, who was a redcoat with me there, and we used to do the bingo together, you know, and in those days, it's got even worse now, but I mean, we used to sort of love doing the bingo because we used to sort of throw all the balls all over the place and all this sort of stuff and call out the wrong numbers, you know, instead of, you know, Gladstone's Den number 10, it was in those days, you know. We used to call out all daft things and get a lot of laughs, and then all the campers complained about it and said we weren't taking it seriously enough, so we got told all.
What about the social side? Did all the nice girls love a red coat?
Well, yes, we used to have two sort of rows of chalets, and there was a sort of a bridge between these two chalets, and brilliant timing by Billy Butler, because they used to have all the young single girls on one side of this bridge. And all the redcoats on the other side. And you know, you can imagine the traffic was quite heavy various times, you know, across this bridge. But they used to have the security guards who used to sort of hide behind posts and watch, you know, as you went to see who was going across this bridge. We used to call it the bridge over the River Kwai, you know.
Yes.
And I sort of had a bit of an advantage because I was so thin I could actually hide behind posts, you know.
Apart from who you hoped to share, who did you actually share a chalet with in those days?
With Eddie, my pal. We both became redcoats. But on one side of me was a chap called Dave O'Marney. He was an Irish fella, and he became Dave Allen, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And the other side was a fellow who was a singer in the rock and roll band there, and that was Harry Webb, and he became Cliff Richard.
Of course, happy
Not
days.
bad, eh? Yeah.
Now, we have plenty of suggestions for birthday gifts, most of them Max Miller hats or Max Miller suits, but Derek Wood of Lewisham obviously knows that for Roy there's one legendary music hall performer who's even more of an idol than Maxie. Let's see if he's right. Who is it then, Roy?
Well, probably Dan Leno.
Dan Leno is right. That's what Derek thought, and he thought we should present you with, and I do hope you like these programmes from the 19th century, including Dan Leno's appearances at the Empire and one other place, the Trocadero.
Oh, beautiful.
Just for you.
Look at those, aren't they lovely, eh?
Just
Look
what you
at
want.
that.
I'm sure you'll enjoy those.
Rather.
Prizes for Derek will be on their way in a few days, and he's got an extra celebration because today's his birthday as well. One other surprise for you, Roy, if you can tear you away from those, and it must be difficult. Just to remind you of those holiday camp days, we have a genuine Redcoats, Butlins red coat with our Saturday badge on it as well. How's that?
It's the same one. It's mine.
It's all yours. There you are, sir.
Wonderful.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much indeed, folks. Thank you.
There you are.
Lovely.
Well now, whose birthday do we celebrate next Saturday? These pictures show you what our guest looked like in his early years. If you look at them carefully, you've got a sporting chance of getting the name. He's a bit of a fast worker, and next week we'll be bowling you over with revelations about his early days, and those surely are more than enough hints. If you think you know who it is, write the name on a postcard and send it to us here at the Saturday's 6 o'clock show, London Weekend Television, London SE 99 6YW. Buzz going on here.
Dennis Thatcher? Must be Dennis Thatcher.
Almost. Very close. Most important of all, include your suggestions for a birthday gift we could give to our guest next Saturday. The person who suggests the most appropriate present will win assorted goodies, including the original 6 o'clock show clock. I think the light's attracting them. Anyway, a little earlier, we had Glamorous Grannies, and now another group of people with a stylish image in our anniversary of the week. 55 years ago this week, the first air hostess, as they were then known, took off. Another male bastion collapsed as ex-nurse Ellen Church flew the inaugural flight for American Airlines. She's the cheerful one at the top of the stairs. It wasn't long before airlines all over the world began to realise that what passengers appreciated was safety, efficiency and a nice pair of legs. Gary has been out to discover how the job of the air stewardess has changed over the years.
When Britain's first stewardesses took to the air, life was far from glamorous. They flew in converted Lancaster bombers with room for just 13 passengers. Even in those days, style was all important, as former stewardess Felicity Farquharson recalls from the first ever training course.
We had Mr. Lawrence, who'd been one of the head waiters at the Savoy, and I think he thought aircraft were going to be like the Savoy, and we learnt to fillet fish and all about wines and sorbets and ice creams. I still have my notes somewhere, which really didn't bear much relation to service.
In 1945, Cynthia White was the stewardess on the first flight out of Heathrow.
And you had all the napkins and everything, and then you did civil service on the aircraft, bumping up and down because you didn't get over the...
Any accidents with the civil service?
Oh, yes. Every bit of that from dinner was washed up and relayed, wiped, relayed, ready for the breakfast trays, and that took all night.
According to Cynthia, the noise could be pretty bad too, especially for those who weren't used to it. She remembers the health inspector coming aboard.
He said to me, you know, how long have you been flying in these? And I said, however long, it was quite a long while. And he said, well, by my reckonings, you should be round the bend in 3 months. So that's probably why we're all sitting here like this.
I'll always want to fly Caledonian. We really ought to try Caledonian. It's the only way to...
Today's stewardesses are sold as the glamour girls of the air, although there's something a little less glamorous about how they learn the ropes. I hear stories about people with nylon underwear coming down them and a big static build-up. I mean, is that true?
It gets a bit hot.
It gets hot.
As you come down, as the speed, as you get faster.
You soon cool down when all your underwear's disappeared, though, don't
That's true. OK, don't forget to put your brake on.
It's at places like this, the British Caledonian Training Centre, where the girls are taught to stay cool, whatever the problem. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Well, this is all very smooth, isn't it? The high life with style. And that's exactly how the stewardesses planned it. And it would stay that way if it wasn't for just one tiny setback. The passengers. Oi! Do you call this a slice of lemon?
This guy had been in the desert for about 6 months. And he got on the flight and he sat at the back of the 111 and I was a bar girl standing right by him doing my bar and he just kept looking at my legs and going, my God, those thighs.
And sometimes passengers' behaviour is so unexpected that it can ruffle the calm of even the best stewardess.
Well, we have been known to drop a whole dinner over someone and they've got a sausage resting on the top of their head, a piece of bacon on their shoulder and scrambled egg in their lap.
Oh,
no problem.
A sausage on the end. That's a headbanger. But when the going gets really rough, the girls need skills they won't even find in any training manual. Over at Dan Air, they reckon they've got the answer. The real knack is keeping the passengers entertained.
You made me love you.
Oh, and all the time you knew. And of course, I'm singing this behind the curtain, and they don't know who's actually singing it out of the crew.
And if Kathy's sing-along special doesn't slay 'em, Steph is on hand with one of her impressions.
They love it. Actually, they're more frightened when I take the teeth out.
You see, unlike those trailblazing stewardesses of yesteryear, today's girls have got their feet very firmly on the ground.
But we don't have any Debs now. A few Debbies, but no Debs.
A few Debbies.
Our lives in their hands. In the audience now, we have Janet Hughes from British Caledonian, who was in the film that we've just seen. Janet, it's a pretty exciting life, I suppose. Where were you last week?
Last weekend I was in Los Angeles. We hired a car and did a bit of sightseeing.
You still go sightseeing, do you?
Oh, there's still an awful lot to see.
Yeah. And what will you be doing next week?
I've got some days off and then I go to Africa.
Africa. Sounds quite nice. Just for the weekend, I suppose. Now, what about the old routines the lady was talking about? It sounded like a pretty tough life. Do you reckon you could have handled that?
Well, I don't fancy the uniform, but it must have been a lot more fun, I think, than now.
Well, I wonder if you'd like a chance to take up an offer on that, because, you know, we've got the services of an old Dakota, one of those things around about 1945, I think it was. We wondered if you'd be willing to go up on our behalf. You'd have to get back in the old uniform, I think, and have a go at serving the things and wiping the silver, etc. Would you like to have a go?
I'd love to.
Right, well, not tonight, but we'll do it while you've got a few days off next week, and we'll see what it looks like next week. OK, hold you to that one, and I look forward to that. Now, back to Wembley, where Danny Baker is still recovering from his first ever cup final. Danny, you're on.
Hello, Mike. Yes, we're back at Wembley. Do you know, all week I've been saying that Everton would win the cup, and it happened just that way, except the other way around. And this nice. All I said is I'm bringing up a dozen of me mates to have a kick about, and they started taking the goals down. When Brian Robson went up to get the cup earlier on, incidentally, I felt a sympathy with him. A tear came to my eye, because this week I did just that self-same thing. And the reason is, Wembley Stadium actually runs tours for mug punters like me to go and do that. If you want to see how, you want to see my moment of glory, take a look at this. You know what? That's handy, isn't it?
Every football fan dreams of playing at Wembley, and I'm certainly no different. Getting changed in the dressing room, just soaking up the atmosphere. Oh, Southwark Park was never going to be the same after this. Wembley awaits. OK, cue the crowd. Walking up the famous Players' Tunnel, I felt like something straight out of Boy's Own Fantasy. With the crowd roaring its heart out, I felt as if I could actually hear Ian St John.
And it's Danny Baker to take the penalty, which could win the cup for his team. It's a tough job. Up comes Baker. He struck it well, and yes, it's there. The crowd go wild, and Baker does his dance of delight. He scored at Wembley, and just look at the delight in his chubby face.
After a draining, emotional experience like that, it was all I could do to haul myself up the legendary steps to collect the trophy from Her Majesty.
Actually, Ian St John is the last person to start talking about chubby little faces. I have with me Rob Townsend, who made that all possible with me and does the Wembley tours, don't you, Rob?
That's correct.
When I was outside today, I noticed a lot of tourists love to get in here. Is that popular with them?
Very much so. We took a Japanese gentleman around not so long ago. When he was shown the dressing rooms, threw his hands up and just collapsed. I fainted. We had to bring him round with smelling salts.
Did he ever come round?
Oh, eventually. And then he got out to the pitch, and we actually allowed him to kneel down and kiss the turf.
Yeah. They do pull some strokes to get in here, don't they? King of Brazil, King of Belgium out here, apparently.
Yes, the classic example is a guy turned up with a milk float dressed as a milkman with a delivery from Buckingham Palace for the milk for the Queen's tea at half-time.
And was it for the Queen?
No, the Queen had left for Canada that morning.
It's my type of geese. They should let blokes like that in. Just before we go from here, Mike, because I'm going to savour the occasion as well as 12 pints of lager, has them blokes started laughing yet?
Well, funny you should say that. I wondered if you'd like to consolidate your week of glory and make our non-smilers smile. Can you do it?
Again? Oh, this is it. Jimmy Tarbuck eats your heart out. Well, apparently there's these two neighbours, right? Listen, mate, and they hate each other. And one knocks on the other one's door, and he says, "Here, mate, your house is the same size as mine. How many rolls of wallpaper did you buy for your living room?" So the bloke said, "How many did I buy? 9, I think." 2 weeks later, the bloke knocks on the door again. He says, "Oi, you said you bought 9 rolls of wallpaper for your living room." He said, "That's right." He said, "Well, I did as well, and I've got 3 left over." And the bloke said, "Yeah, so have I." Anyway, that's fair enough. Thanks, London. Good luck in Wembley.
Well done. This is wonderful. Well, he half succeeded, because Pat hasn't smiled yet. Anyway, the night is young. Now, you can put your paper and pencil to use now as we present the 6 o'clock show challenge. Can you find a baker in a haystack? Now, next Saturday, you can try, because then our outside broadcast cameras will be waiting with Danny Baker at a location somewhere in London, not actually in a haystack. If you solve the clues that are coming up, then answers will lead you to that location and to our cameras. The challenge is for you to turn up there next Saturday, and live on the show, we'll set you a few more tests so that we end up with one grand winner who'll get the cup, £500 for a charity of his or her choice, and that trip on the Orient Express. So here is the first clue. This will lead you to the area in London where the location can be found. Gary.
By the river, there's an old station where trains never stop. By the river, there's an old station where trains never stop.
That's the first clue, and there's another bit contained in this film.
How much is that doggy in the window? I do hope that doggy's for sale.
Right, solve the next clues, and they will lead you to the precise location and to a landmark you will find there. Watch this film and listen to the music.
Film is a clue itself, and here's a bit more help. Where there was once a fairground, go east and find the golden pea. Where there was once a fairground, go east and find the golden pea.
Well, if you can work out those clues, you'll be able to find the landmark, and that's where you've got to be next Saturday if you want to win the big prize. Be there at 5 o'clock next Saturday afternoon. And we want you to bring something with you. Here is what you must bring.
Julie Andrews used one of these to land a job. Julie Andrews used one of these to land a job.
Yeah. Well, make sure you've got one of those things with you when you arrive at the landmark next Saturday at 5. Of course, you'll never be without it, will you? Now, there'll be a bit of a party going on, so we want you to dress up. Fancy dress, or at least a hat or bonnet, and shoes, of course. Don't forget, the prizes, besides the cup and £500 for a charity of your choice, there's the all-expenses-paid trip on the Orient Express. Now, I have to admit, it is only to Folkestone and back. But you will have a slap-up lunch with champagne on the way there, and if you can manage it, afternoon tea on the way back, and you'll have Cheryl and Gary for company as well. So remember, get to the location next Saturday, and if you want to hear the clues again, they'll be repeated on next Friday's 6 o'clock show. Right. Now, as for our non-smilers, you're our last chance with the lady, Roy. See if you can get her going with one of your old holiday camp routines. What do you say?
Well, you won't let me touch her, will you? Well, I tell you what we could try, actually, Paul. I tell you what, this is an old sing-song number we used to do on the holiday camps. If I can remember it, it used to go something like this. Sarah, Sarah, sitting in the shoe shine shop. All day long she sits and shines, all day long she shines and sits. Sarah, Sarah, sitting in the shoe shine shop. She sits and shines and shines and sits, sits and shines and shines and sits. Sarah, Sarah, sitting in the shoe shine shop. How about that?
Oh.
Yes?
Well.
Hey, not bad, Oh, well, I'm glad you like that. Right, I'll tell you what we do. I'll tell you what we do. I'm glad you like that one, so I'll tell you what, we'll all have a go at it now, right? All have a go nice and loud, but ever so slow. All right, Paul? Everybody now. Ready?
Sarah, Sarah, sitting in the shoe shine shop. All day long she sits and shines.